What's up, guys, and welcome to the 6th episode of the Reset Broadcast. Joining me today is news editor Richard Hayden.
Hello.
And PC writer Sean Knight.
Hello, everyone.
This week we're going to be talking about the Valve Indie Greenlight Program, Aliens, Colonial Marines, and their lack of a female character, and the Ouya console that was just announced. We're going to start with the Valve Indie Greenlight Program. Steam went and created a thing. Valve announced the Indie Greenlight Program this week. It's their program to where fans can choose what games they want to see in the Steam marketplace and help out Valve with their approval process for indie games. It seems like a neat idea, but there are a couple issues with it. Sean, do you have anything to add here, or anything to say about it?
Well, it's all community-based where, everybody's going to decide which indie games get published on Steam. So, it's pretty much like you're in high school again, where the popular kids are the ones that are getting voted on. They get your prom queen and king, I guess. It's an intriguing idea, and from what I've gathered, the projects don't get taken down by Valve at all. It's taken down by the developers should they not be, approved of anytime soon. But even then, Valve has said that votes sometimes aren't going to be the persuading factor in getting published on Steam in the first place. If they like something or they see something that is intriguing, they'll probably just approach the developer. So it's not always going to be, who has the most votes that's going to be published. So it's a very interesting system and another great idea, I think, by Valve. It's just we'll have to see how the execution is done.
Well, that's been one of the concerns, too, is people are afraid that the system's just going to devolve into a go like my Facebook page or go check out my new game, and then that's all you're going to see is spammed all over the place, and it's going to be flooded with that. So the big ideas that appeal to the lowest common denominator of audience are going to be the ones that rise to the top. I heard somebody compare it earlier to the Indie Games Marketplace in Xbox Live. If you look at the front page of the Indie Games Marketplace, the first 10 games are like Minecraft clones, and then the next is a vibrating controller massager, and it's just the games that are most downloaded of those are the ones that people are most interested in. So do you think that the public can identify a good indie game? Do you think that the general people do a better job of finding which games are important than the Valve people that are paid to do that?
That's pretty tough because generally we see the majority of gamers don't seem to have a great grasp on picking the best games out there. I mean, look, hate to say this, but look at the Call of Duty franchise. I mean, all the sales that generates, and it's not really the best first-person shooter game out there. However, like I said, Valve is also going to be looking at the games that are presented, and they'll cherry pick what they like as well, despite what the community says. So once again, it's all in the execution. I'm sure the most popular will definitely be published, but however, there is still the chance that those that are lower tiered and not as popular will still be seen by Valve, and they'll like what they see.
All right, well, it's good at least that they have some kind of system in place to where they're not just letting fans decide completely what's going on.
Absolutely.
Next up on the agenda is the lack of a female character in Aliens, Colonial Marines. I don't know too much about this issue, so I'm going to let Richard take it away and explain this one. Richard, what's going on here?
Well, it turns out that Gearbox, who have been putting together this game at great length and great expense and telling us how it's all the natural successor to the movie, Aliens, have failed to put a female playable character in the game, which strikes me as extraordinary given the importance of female characters to the franchise. And it's, at the moment, they're saying it's an economic argument, that it just costs extra money to model a female character. But, they've known this budget for a while. I imagine the budget's quite large, and it won't have stopped them modeling several versions of the Xenomorph, or probably several male models as well. So I think somebody's missed something at a meeting somewhere, and it's a mistake they're now trying to cover up in retrospect. It should have been done, and it should still be done.
The game's been in development for quite some time, right?
I know, and it's now going to be about a year late by the time it finally comes here as well. It's been delayed twice. So, having been missing in action for a very long time as well. I mean, it's been written off by several other publications sort of a couple of years ago as a game that's never going to happen, sort of vaporware. But I mean, that is now historical. I mean, it is coming, and we are going to get it, but it's not going to have a Ripley character in it by the sound of it.
What exactly do you think they lose then by not including a female character?
Well, I suppose not very much, really. I mean, I don't suppose it'll hit the sales very much, but it does seem to undermine the core of the franchise. And I'm loath to draw parallels between movies and games because they are very distinct beasts. But a lot of people will be buying the game because they love the movie. And the character Ripley is absolutely essential to the movies. I mean, otherwise they would just be fairly generic science fiction movies, but because of Ripley, they've become something a little bit more complex, not just because of her. There are other issues to it to make it great, but that is an extremely important one, coming through as it did in the late 70s, when that sort of thing wasn't really being done in sci-fi. In fact, science fiction was still kind of in the B-movies complex. So it seems to be a bit of a retrograde step in the 21st century to be doing something that we weren't doing in the 70s. We were doing in the 70s, we now aren't.
Leave it to our science fiction writer to explain to you the entire history of science fiction within a 2-minute section.
Well, it's an interesting case when it comes to female models because they're saying it's a budget issue, which I highly doubt. In the case of, let's say, Counter-Strike, a lot of people wanted, I believe, if I remember correctly, back in the 90s, they were clamoring for, female models. However, when it comes to a female model and esports, a female model in the multiplayer game has a smaller hitbox, making them harder to hit. So that was one of the reasons why they weren't included into multiplayer for Counter-Strike. I think in today's games where most of the first-person shooter multiplayer games aren't esport titles, they should include female players, especially Aliens Colonial Marines, where they have the opportunity to, entice a lot of female gamers out there to play their game, especially if they're including female characters into it. Because, as Richard said, the Alien movies revolve around really strong female characters. Ripley, the Alien Queen, I mean, seriously, the main baddie right there. So, I just can't understand Gearbox Software passing up on an opportunity like this. They say it's budget, but I really don't think that was the case. I think they're just thinking that trying to cater to the female crowd is, once again, not worth the effort in potential sales.
Well, it isn't a male-dominated industry, at least on the development side, so I kind of see why they overlook that, but it's bad of them to overlook.
I mean, there's very few titles that even do it for the multiplayer. I think Halo Reach is one of the few that include female models.
But even that's just a female voice. It's not I mean, the models are the same both ways, right?
No, there's slight differences. It is a female model, if I remember correctly.
All right. I honestly have never played the female model in Halo Reach. Maybe I'm part of the problem. Finally this week, we're talking about the Ouya. Ouya. Ouya.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Their motto's going to be the Kool-Aid Man. Alright, the Ouya console, which is this idea where they brought a bunch of people together and they told them to make a video game console for $100. The plan's for it to run on the Android platform and play essentially Android OS games like you'd see on a phone, or at least games that are designed with those sort of constraints in mind, but to bring them to a controller and allow more people to play them. The Kickstarter project was originally announced with a $950,000 goal, but it has tripled that at the time of this recording, possibly more by the time this goes up. The thing's crazy. There seem to be a whole lot of people interested in it. Yeah, but that kind of brings up a question: is at what point are these Kickstarter projects? At what point do you need Kickstarter? Looking at the pedigree of the people involved in this project, they all have a lot. They all are smart people. They all know what they're doing, and they're all well-established people in the business. So there have been other ways that they could have gotten this funding. Richard, do you think that they needed a Kickstarter for this, and do you think it's going to help them?
Well, I think it clearly has helped them, and as you say, they've tripled their request for day one. But I think Kickstarter is a business tool, and really any business is able to use it. It would be ridiculous for Microsoft to use it because they couldn't raise enough to do any kind of project worth doing that they couldn't raise elsewhere. But for a smaller unit, even a medium-sized business like this one, it looks like it's enough to trigger their production phase. And I don't see that there's anything wrong with that. If as a consumer you are offended by the size of the business and its request, then don't buy it. You know, there's no pressure on the consumer to participate in any Kickstarter at all. And so yeah, so if it's one that doesn't bother you, then just stay on the sidelines. I'm quite excited by this one. I think it's interesting.
Do you think you'll be picking up the console when it comes out? I mean, I know we don't know very little about it now, but
I backed it yesterday morning.
Oh. All right, then. So then, what excites you most about the package? What are you most looking forward to then, as a supporter of the Kickstarter here?
Mostly it attracted me because it seems to be moving into a section of the console market, and I mean the fixed console rather than mobile console, that isn't really being done on a grand scale at the moment. Like as you mentioned, Xbox Live independent games earlier, that's sort of the same kind of thing, but that's not really getting any kind of push from Microsoft, whereas Ouya seems to be centered around it. Now you're right, the tech in it isn't that strong. I mean, in fact, it's going to be a lot weaker than the existing console tech, but it is very cheap for that, and it comes with an open source platform. And well, you only need to go and talk to somebody at Apple about how much they've been surprised by developers coming to them on their platform, which isn't open source, of course, but we understand the point I'm making, that there is a space for developers to grow into, and it's one that is actually aiming at the smaller developers. And I'd be very interested to see how it goes. And for $100, it's worth a punt as a consumer.
That's a lot less than most cell phones, and it does have more processing power than a lot of cell phones have, correct?
Not that many. I think it's a better mobile chip, but it's not the best out there.
Okay, it is a quad-core chip.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so that's about what I have in my phone now. I currently have a Galaxy S2, and it can run Grand Theft Auto 3 pretty well. So I guess all the games, if they do 3D games like that, that's probably around the limit. Xbox era graphics are probably around the limit that they can run.
Yeah.
I guess that's not so bad for $100 and what it's going for. We'll just see how the developers have to innovate and come up with new ways to use that.
That's exactly it. It's going to be in the hands of people who are interested in pushing technology, a technology that at the moment might be out of their reach because they're not really in a AAA situation that they can work on Xbox or PlayStation, but suddenly there's a home-based console that they can now exploit.
Sean, do you have any thoughts on this? I think the potential of it is very interesting, especially for the indie developers. This could be a platform for games that have normally been, for indie games that have normally been exclusive to PC, having access to the console market. Like, let's say Project Zomboid at the moment, they might be able to use this as a platform to reach the console market. You saw Minecraft and how well it's done once it went over to Xbox Live. You know, a lot of indie developers would definitely, you know, benefit from this, especially when they've already done very well on the PC. So it'll be interesting to see what titles and what indie developers decide to go with this.
I do think they have Mojang signed up for it, which is the Minecraft guys, right?
Yeah. I don't know if they have it signed up, but I'm sure they would be approaching them. I mean, they'd be crazy not to, with Minecraft in the works, Scrolls also being developed, and that one game not just working on.
XZ7917,
yeah.
XNT. I think actually Mojang have tentatively backed it. There's a quote from a Mojang supporter on the Kickstarter page. It doesn't say we're definitely coming, but it does say along the lines of, if this works out the way we hope and the way you hope, then you'll be able to get Mojang games on this.
Well, that'd be a huge addition. They are a really big publisher to have on the platform. Does it have online capabilities? Did they talk about that?
Well, I would think it would have to. I mean, almost all of these things are going to be downloaded, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm an idiot. Yeah, I'm going to have to download them on the store. Okay, yeah, so it does have to have online capabilities. All right. Yeah, so that's going to about do it for this week. We've covered everything we needed to. Be sure to check out PressToReset.com, and you can read all about the stories that we talked about here today. Also, check out the Reset Transmission podcast. Appears every Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday morning. Yeah, check out our community game nights as well. Every Wednesday night now. We changed them to Wednesday. All right, let's make sure. Check out our community game nights on Wednesdays. Like us on YouTube, comment on us, share us with your friends. We'd love for you to do that. We'd like to do contests eventually, but nobody sends in their questions. So in order to do contests, we'll need you guys to participate just a little bit. Yeah, that's all I got for y'all. Unless y'all have any closing things, we're going to take it out this week. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
And thank you, Sean.
Thank you for having me.